All right guys, so we're gonna have a look at both biasing the rear delts and also how you might then change the arm path to bias more of those upper back fibers like the rhomboids, mid traps, teres, etc. So we'll start with the rear delt focus row. So we're gonna get Charlie just to set in a bit more of an upright torso position. Now, at the moment his T-spine is kind of sitting in what we'd consider to be his neutral position. What we're gonna look at here is that, and we'll explain the difference between this and the upper back, is we're going to think about Charlie pulling his arms out into slight abduction. So usually that's going to look somewhere around kind of 35 to 50 degrees of abduction, so i.e. elbow out to the side. Really what we're trying to achieve here with the rear delt row is a couple of things. One, we want to get that little bit of T-spine extension as he gets to end range, but two, it's actually the position he can get his upper arm the furthest back. And ultimately you'll be able to feel that, because if you're able to get that upper arm all the way back, you'll feel these rear delts really, really tighten and ball up. Now, how that differs to the mid back, a couple of little cue variations here is one, that arm path is going to start looking a little bit more around kind of say 60 degrees upwards. What we don't want to do is we don't want to pull in line with the actual shoulders. So if you just do right in line with the shoulders, Charlie, doesn't mean that that's not a valid row variation, but honestly speaking, it's not really giving us any more benefit than if we just simply have the elbow sitting down a bit closer to the scapular plane and allowing us to really bias those mid-back fibers. The other cues that we're going to want to think about here is, rather than thinking about getting the upper arm as far back as possible, we're thinking about maximal abduction first. And as he gets almost just kind of past the line of the torso here, he's going to think about retracting the shoulder blades as much as he can, and almost as if the elbows are coming around the rib cage here, so it's wide and then retracting in. So just a couple of mistakes that people will make here is, of course, one thing, they'll use way too much momentum, whether it's rear delts or whether it's for the mid back. Another thing they'll do as well is they'll pull the elbows too low as well. Now, bear in mind, for some individuals, the difference between the lat plane and the rear delt plane might not necessarily be that much, but it's just something that you're going to have to play around with and find out for yourself as an individual. For the upper back, the big thing is going to be almost like shrugging up too much too soon. Now, interestingly enough, as we get to the end of the row, it's actually natural for there to be a little bit of elevation from the upper traps here, but the problem that we see, or what we don't want, is we don't want this creeping in too much excessively at any point, or we don't want it starting this way and then pulling. So ideally, just do a couple more good reps. So whether it's the rear delt row, you'll notice that only the upper traps get involved right towards the very end, and if we're doing the upper back row, they're only just elevating just as much as they naturally should to assist with that full scapular retraction.